Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our Empower Cycling conversation series, where we're spotlighting women in the cycling community who we think are badass and everybody needs to know about them. I want to introduce my new friend, Juliette Kern. Juliette, thank you for joining us today. Tell us where you're hailing from.
I'm here in Gig Harbor, Washington.
Gig Harbor, Washington. Yes. So, what type of cycling do you enjoy? What's like your primary discipline?
Great question. I really like technical, rooty, loamy trails. So I like to ride enduro and I like to ride downhill.
Nice. We've got an enduro fan. I'm partial to enduro. I love all disciplines, all bikes welcome, but I love me some enduro. So I want to share with you guys a little bit about how Juliette and I actually met. So if most of you follow the Empower MTB Instagram page, in honor and recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we decided to go pink with our logo. And Juliette reached out and I think I used the hashtag Save the Tatas in that post, right?
Yeah.
And Juliette was so kind to reach out and she really gave me another perspective that I didn't know about, I didn't understand. And she educated me on how certain trending tags that we've used in the past aren't very sensitive. They're a little outdated and we just kind of need to evolve a little bit more in how we demonstrate our support. And we then started talking, I'm like, hey, let's talk, where do you ride? Where are you from? And just got to know so much about your journey. I think so many more women need to know someone like you. When is the first time you went mountain biking? Like, how long have you been riding?
Oh, good question. I have been riding for about 3 years. I started in 2019. My first time mountain biking was actually with an organization called the Send It Foundation, which is an org that takes young adults with cancer, they're cancer fighters or cancer survivors, on outdoor adventures like surfing, backpacking, mountain biking. And so my first ride was with Send It. I was 3 years out from cancer treatment myself. And I was with 8 other young adult cancer survivors. So it was like 8 or 9 of us. We were in Stinson Beach, California. And I was terrified of mountain biking, to be honest with you, because I didn't have a concept of what mountain biking was, right? Like I see.
Really?
Yeah, I think of mountain biking at the time, I thought of like a Monster commercial. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone with a full face helmet, like jumping.
Diving off of a cliff somewhere.
Yeah, right. Totally. I assume they just go off cliffs, right? Like Send It. They shuttled us to the top of Mount Tam in California. And I think we just rode the fire roads down.
Oh, nice. Hey, that's good first exposure. Like, did you fall? Like, tell me what that was like. Did you stay upright?
Yeah, good question. I fell. I think on the second day I fell. The first day, I don't think I fell. I remember one of our guides, his name is Chris, he's incredible. He said, like, squeeze the brakes really hard and see what it feels like. And I remember doing that and being like, oh, okay, so it fishtails a little, I'm gonna skid. This feels manageable. And just like learning kind of how to stop fast and what to expect when I stop fast really empowered me to go a little faster.
Nice.
And yeah, I think I got stuck in a rut and fell in a bush and thought it was pretty funny, but it was fine.
A laughable moment, right? I like that you called out how your coach taught you how to brake. Because I do feel like the more that we learn about our bike and different things to do, that kind of helps with our confidence. And you got like a crash course. I'm like, I needed your coach my first day on the trails.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a crash course too. They just they took us to the top and then they had like all of these like $8,000 Yetis, which we didn't know. We were like, cool. But they said like, who's scared? And I was like, well, I'm like terrified. This is going to be a terrifying event. And I didn't even know, like the last time I rode a bike, it was like a beach cruiser. I had this like great beach cruiser at home with a basket on the front. And, the gear shifter, I don't even know. I think it was like a clicker. So to have all of these like buttons and levers, they kind of helped us understand them in the parking lot. And then they were like, okay, go. And the seat went up and the seat went down. And I was like, in my mind, there are so many things to do I don't even know.
It's a lot of buttons to press, isn't there? What would you say was the turning point for you? Like, because obviously we know coming into something, when we're new at it, we're not going to be the best at it. There is a learning period. And what would you say for you was the turning point when it came to you being like, okay, I really love this. I'm doing this. Your confidence started to go up. When did that happen for you? What did that look like?
Great question. I was all immediately. So that very first ride, not knowing how to use the buttons and the levers, I knew mountain biking was for me right away. I didn't know what mountain biking was because I think we were gravel grinding on mountain bikes, but I knew that this was something for me because immediately I felt alive and just filled with joy. I was with like 8 rad people who were like ready to go full send, who'd never mountain biked before. I was on this gorgeous bicycle and we were overlooking some of the most stunning scenery. So it was a no-brainer. I was in love with mountain biking. Minute 1, maybe minute 3. But and oddly, it was maybe the first time in about 3 years that I had to let a lot of stuff go and really focus on the moment. So I had I'd been a runner, so I was fit and ready to
Yeah.
outside. But as a runner on runs, I'm always thinking and I'm unpacking my day and I'm processing my thoughts and my feelings and that's great. And I love that. And there's a place for that. But on the bike, there was no space to do any of that. I had to look ahead on the trail and keep up with my friends and turn fast corners and avoid objects. And so I think for the first time in about 3 years, I had been super present in the moment, which was a huge relief because I'd been holding on to this very serious old lady mentality that I needed to focus on my career and I needed to catch up because I'd lost so much time with cancer and I was gonna die. And so I needed to be like aware of being present in the moment, but like I wasn't really doing that until I got on the bike and pointed it down the hill. So I was still hooked on biking, on mountain biking specifically, that as soon as we got to Send at Beach House after that trip, everyone else wanted to go surfing. They were like, cool, that was great. Let's go surf. And I convinced Dr. Dave, the trip medic, to actually like take me back up into the mountains.
Like, I want to go back up now.
We're going back up immediately. And he's just as much of a like bike nerd as me. So he was like, yeah, let's go. So we grabbed a couple of bikes and headed back up. I didn't even know who this kid was. I was like halfway up the trip. I was like, wait, you're not going to murder me? I just realized I just met you earlier yesterday. What happened today?
One thing, okay, you may have experienced this too. One thing I've seen since coming into cycling, everyone, like, they're good people. I have met some of the best people since I started cycling, and they're just nice for no reason. Nice because you ride a bike. It's like refreshing.
It is. It's so refreshing. And I think, just not having a ton of experience of being in the woods. I wasn't a hiker really. And being in the woods maybe didn't feel as safe, and being in the woods alone as a female didn't feel as safe. And now I'm like super comfortable to just grab my bike and head up the mountain by myself and go for a soul ride if I'm having a bad day. And don't ever think twice about it. I know that if I encounter someone, chances are they're going to help. They're going to help me if I have a mechanical. They're going to say hi. Everyone's super friendly.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I love that you touched on how being on your bike kind of forced you to be present. And I know that's something a lot of us struggle with balancing work and family and our own time and wanting to be committed member. Like, how do you find time to be present? So I want to know from you, like, what's your favorite time of day to ride? Like, when is the best time for you to be present on your bike?
Oh, I love that. I love that question so much. So for me, my favorite things in the world are actually just love to be outside. I love to ride my bike. I love romantic skies and scenic views and like the world's best coffee.
Oh my
So
God, what is a romantic sky? I need to know. Tell
like
me
when
more.
the sun is changing, when the sun is coming up or it's setting and the sky gets orange and red and
Oh yeah.
kind of unicorn pinky blue color. Those are my favorite. Those are my favorite moments to just like be alive and feel. And it always feels like there's just this show and it's just for me. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, I like leave for work early sometimes to time it so I can watch the sunrise on the bridge as I'm like crossing the Narrows. So my favorite time to ride is I love dawn patrols and I love night rides because I can pedal up in the dark and it's like me and the bats. And normally I don't go alone. It feels a little sketch. So my husband and I will go up, 6 o'clock. We got to get up at 5 and drive to the trailhead and pedal up. And then we'll sit and we'll just watch the sun come up. And then ride down. And it's my most favorite. I always feel like, oh my God, I started my day and then we come home and have like good coffee and relax, and I can do anything. I can take on the world if I start my day like that. And then night rides. I was living in the Pacific Northwest. It's dark a lot. So again, like pedaling up after work, watching the sunset, and then riding down in the dark is incredible. Good lights are important, but
Yeah, that part. That's interesting, night rides. So when I first started, I was terrified of night rides. Like I hated them. Don't tell anybody. But I've come to love them. Well, this was before I knew about lights, just proper gear. And then I was still getting familiar with some of the trails. So it was like, but now I can kind of feel what you're saying. Like it's nice to, and I was a thespian in my former days. I was very much into the theater. So I've got artistic language that I love using. But what I hear you say is like, you're almost witnessing like that transition, either whether it's from night to day and getting to see just the colors and the change and something about that moment through all of that change happening. There's like these small moments of stillness. And it's almost like those moments of stillness you take with you throughout each parts of your day. And I guess maybe when times get hard, it's like, oh, remember this morning or last night's night, right? I kind of feel that in what you're sharing.
Totally. And it's just kind of magical to be, how many people, I think everyone probably watches the sunset, and especially people that are privileged enough to like live somewhere where they can see it from their back door. Yeah. But, watching the sun come up is so special, and not everyone takes the time for that. And I would say most people skip it. So knowing, I don't know, it just makes me feel like, it's more special in a way because it's just for me, because I put in the extra effort to seek it out and find it. And yeah, I don't know. It's good. It's just magical and it makes me feel good inside and all the feelings, and it's the best thing.
I love it. So now in thinking about you getting through your day and having those moments of stillness, what do you do when you're not riding your bike?
Yeah. That's another good question. And as you can tell, I'm in a sling right now because I just had rotator cuff surgery. So I'm not riding at all. Well, I work in higher education administration where I've been for 8 years. I'm a wife, a mom of 2 adult kids and 2 tiny little dogs. I drink a lot of coffee and I'm into advocacy. So part of my role, I work with the Multicultural Student Services Directors Council, and I'm the vice president for them. And their goal is to remove barriers to access for students of color in higher education. I'm on the board for the Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance here, and my role with them is again just advocacy and making sure that the trails are accessible to those of us, who may have a disability, or those of, people of color, English language learners, just anyone that's not always represented, right? Because when we're sold this vision of mountain biking, right? Like I said, I thought it was for only, and just making sure that our trails are accessible to everyone, and that culture that we create through education programs, through our marketing and everything that we do is really highlighting that everyone can build trails, everyone can ride bikes, everyone can participate in this way.
Yeah.
It's not in the way that we've always, imagined it to be.
I love it. It's almost like when you come into this, because you've got I love how, I love your give back mindset. And I love how committed you are to community. I don't know if you, yeah, I'm sure you can relate to this, but it almost feels like when you, when you start riding a bike, you start meeting people and you start to feel better. It just makes you want to do more. It makes you want to contribute and find ways where, you can make space for others. I don't know if you had that feeling coming into it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't at first. I mean, I didn't even know what went into riding bikes. That there was trail associations, or that people even. I didn't. It even dawned on me that you had to build a trail, right? Like I was just like, okay, cool. I ride bikes now. This is what I do, and so I started giving back. Trying to help send it and help fundraise with Send It. I was like, wow, this is really meaningful. And then one of my friends invited me down to Portland for a dig event, and we helped work on this trail. What is it called? I think it's called like Fanny's Your Aunt or something. And it was this all women's built trail. It was a bunch of just like incredible women
Oh
building.
my God. What's the name of it again?
I don't know. I think it's called Fanny's Your Aunt, but Fanny's Your Aunt. I could be wrong about the name.
Okay. Well, no, that's fine. We can,
Yeah.
yeah, when you remember it, just share it with me like later and we'll make sure to get that out. Like that sounds awesome. Like I'd love to know more about that. Like seriously.
Yeah, it was super magical. I mean, like being in the woods,
Right.
cutting down little, my job wasn't even very big. I had this little tiny saw, and I was just cutting down little branches. And then we got to ride through it, and it was incredible. And so, I've had a torn rotator cuff for the past year, unfortunately. So I haven't been able to participate in digging as much as I want to.
You've put in your time.
Yeah, but I'm able to, so I've been looking for opportunities to put in that time in other ways that I can do, while I'm not as able-bodied. And once my shoulders to normal, then I'll get out there too. And like we just had the Misfit Mountain Bike Brigade, which I'll talk a little bit about later, and the Donut Squad and Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance just did a woman's dig day as well. And it was kind of a clinic and taught women how to use some of the tools, and just like a rad party in the woods, learning how to build and really empowering females to get out and build trails too. And we also have, I think it's called the Big Shebang, where it's same style. It's just, Washington is incredible. We have so much.
I'm like, I need like a calendar. I need an event sheet.
Yes.
Like I'm just like serious.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get that though. We'll get that. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. So now we've come to the point where, again, we are doing this in honor and recognition of breast cancer for any ladies going through it and any ladies who have survived, or just sharing the message. So can you share with us a little bit about your journey or experience, your story with breast cancer? And feel free to start wherever you'd like in that journey.
Yeah, good question. I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 34. So I was super young. I was super new in my career. So I was really focused on kind of growing. I had just been promoted, I think like a few months beforehand. And so I was really excited to work and then not kind of rust out of that world and into this world of being sick. It was like my world stopped and I had to redefine who I was, because I was really focused on like, great, how do I get ahead and what's next? And when do I go to grad school and how do I navigate all of these things that are happening and be my best lady boss self. And so cancer came and like hijacked that and took, it didn't take it away. I mean, I still ended up going to grad school a little bit later, and I still ended up, I'm still an an education administrator, and I'm doing great. But it really helped reframe who I was as a person and really kind of focus more on mindfulness and living for now, and not trying to focus on strategy and what, I recently listened to a podcast where he talked about life as like a game of Tetris, and you can't strategize Tetris because you don't really know what's coming, right? Oh man, I wish I didn't get that piece. You just have to go, cool, where does it go? And so cancer really gave me the opportunity to view life like that, because anything can happen at any minute. And I'm hyper aware that like I'm not going to live forever. So that, helps helps a lot. It's such a beautiful gift that most people don't get. And so I really relate to other cancer survivors and people that have kind of like treated death, if you will, because it changes your perspective on everything. But I digress a little bit. So I got cancer at 34, and it really pushed my body to its actual limits, which kind of shaped me as an athlete. So cancer treatment was like super hard. I had 6 months of chemo, and then like a double mastectomy with implants. So I had like no energy at all. And my body was totally unpredictable. So I would just have like no immune system, or I would go super anemic, and I wouldn't be able to even get off the couch. I couldn't. And chemo kind of kills your brain cells, all your taste buds kind of go away. And so like there wasn't a lot of excitement happening or dopamine or anything good. And so I couldn't really read books. I didn't have the attention span for podcasts. I just like, it was me and the ceiling, and I stared at it when I was awake and then slept a lot. So, my body just did its own thing. So like my nose would bleed at its leisure. I would have like insane fevers. I got pneumonia because I didn't have an immune system. So I actually couldn't breathe in the hospital on oxygen for, a week or so. And then my mastectomy was like the most painful experience of my life. So like when I came back from all of that, I was able to really push a lot harder as an athlete, because those sports challenges kind of felt insignificant in comparison. So for example, like when you sprint as a runner, right? Like it's really hard. You can't breathe and you're like, my legs are sore, my muscles are on fire, my lungs are burning. But when your perception of that is so much deeper, you can pull so much more out of your body and just push so much harder. So I think that's kind of
so it sounds like you it's like you learned how far your body could actually be pushed. Let me ask you this, like, how did you motivate yourself through those tough times?
I didn't motivate myself. My husband showed up every like Tuesday or whatever and drove me to chemo because he knew I wasn't going to go. Like I was over it. I wasn't interested. I didn't have the energy, the patience, the desire. I was done. I had kind of resigned and was ready to just like be done. I mean, my dog motivated me a little bit, because I thought, oh my God, how are we going to explain to her?
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Yorkie Shih Tzu mix. She's like the tiniest little fluffy thing. She's like all of 8 pounds. But yeah, I mean, part of that was like, okay, I better keep going because I don't really want her to not understand.
What's her name?
Annabelle.
Annabelle? Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you, Annabelle.
Totally. But mostly it was my husband, and him and I would argue and say, well, I'm not going this week and I'm finished. And we kind of had a deal that I try chemo, and if I reached a point where, oh man, the light is, oh, that's so pretty.
Oh, that is. You've got the angelic glow on you.
The sun is peeking through the trees. So yeah, we kind of had this agreement where if I like reached a point where my quality of life was so bad and there wasn't, really that opportunity for it to get better, that we would revisit whether or not we completed treatment. But I don't think we ever really got there. I just didn't feel it. I wasn't into it. And so he would just show up and make sure I went. And if he wasn't able to be there, he would make sure someone took me.
Yeah.
So for a lot of it, I didn't motivate myself. And then when I got better, I guess, better when I got cured of cancer, um, and then I had to motivate myself to like live my life.
Yeah.
I found a lot of strength in other young adult survivors. For example, I'm reminded of my friend Zan, who has since passed away, but Zan was like an incredible kiteboarder, and he would just get after it. Like all the time was kiteboarding and going and doing all of these really big things. And he was a great surfer, and
yeah,
he just like lived his life to the fullest.
I was going to say live to the fullest.
Yeah.
I feel like that phrase has evolved so much in meaning. I remember, in different stages of our lives, you hear that phrase, and depending on where you are, it may have meaning or not. And I feel like the more, I hate to say old, the older I get, the wilder, wiser I get, the more time I feel like that phrase has so much, there's so much to it. And it almost like brings a smile to my face when I hear it. Like,
yeah. No, and that's it, totally. And that's kind of how, how I started living my life, was just go do the things, try everything once. If I don't like it, don't do it again. Just live and find joy and stop trying to focus on, what's, I mean, I do need to be strategic, and I do need to keep those things in mind as I navigate life, but I also need to make space for joy, make space for sunrises, make space to go hard and play hard and work hard. And and I find that strength from other survivors and watching how they live their life. But it took time too, because at first I was like, oh man, I'm not going to be a super survivor, and all of those people with all of their inspirational messages, like that's not me.
yeah.
And that's okay too. Like there's sometimes a lot of pressure on cancer survivors to like have something wise to say, or like
Wow.
and we're not all going to be that, and that's okay too. And just really choosing who you want to be and how you want to live. And I chose to go kind of full send. But and the further I get away from my like diagnosis state, my completion of treatment, we call it my death cheater day. The further I get away, I think I'm like 6 years out now, some of that FOMO kind of wears off, and
Congratulations. Is that the right thing to say?
Which one?
Congratulations, or what's the right thing to say when wanting to acknowledge that and celebrate with you?
I think that's fine. I think congratulations is great. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I love that question. This year, because I just celebrate everything now. I will celebrate whatever it is. I'm going to celebrate it, whether it's diagnosis day, whether it's death cheater day, whether it's your cat's wedding, like you name it.
Oh, I love it.
We're going to celebrate it. So this year, death cheater day, my friends, I tried to do something like wild. And this year I just couldn't. It was like a Wednesday. And everyone was working and busy. And my girlfriends ended up getting me, well, they took me to a rock climbing gym and got these like mastectomy cupcake things. And they were just like, congratulations, you're at year 6, like your extra credit life, year 6.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. I have to see a picture if you have one.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Your friends sound amazing. Like you're blessed to have a tribe like that. They sound awesome.
Mm-hmm. I have the absolute most best friends. Like when it comes to friends, I probably won the lottery. I have incredible human beings in my life. And my husband too. I woke up and on death cheater day with this card that says like, I think this is it right here. Actually, yeah, it says happy death.
Oh, wow.
And it's a mountain.
Oh, that's so pretty. All the colors. Your favorite time of day.
I love it. Yeah. So
beautiful.
And he got me like AirTags, Apple AirTags, because since chemo, I can't find anything. I can't remember anything. So he's like, here, put these on your stuff so you can find it. It was great.
I love it. What's your husband's name?
Jared.
Go, Jared. You rock.
Yes.
So I have to ask.
The question I feel like we should ask, it's a little cliche, but I feel like just you and your unique story have some really meaningful words to share. So like, what advice would you give to another woman who may have recently been diagnosed, or not even just,
but a person has a loved one that's diagnosed or going through this journey, or a friend? What's some advice you would share with either of them?
That's a really good question. I think it's really difficult to answer what advice that I would give to someone who's diagnosed with cancer. I guess I would start with reach out and know that you're not alone, especially being a young adult with cancer, because cancer, everyone gets cancer when they're 80. It's really isolating to get cancer in your 30s or your 20s. I was treated at the Jane Russell Cancer Center down the street from my house, and everyone was like 80. All the programs happened in the middle of the afternoon when I was supposed to be at work. And so like, I'm going to work like bald, bleeding nose, like whatever's happening. And these people that are getting treatment alongside me, that's the highlight of their day. I mean, they're dressing up, they've got their wigs on, they're excited to talk to their chemo friends. And for me, I'm still trying to navigate how to be, a young career woman while navigating breast cancer, chemotherapy, and I don't know how to do FMLA paperwork. I don't know how to do long-term disability, and I'm not retired, and all of the programs are happening, in the middle of the afternoon. So it feels very, very lonely. And I would say reach out, look for organizations for young adult cancer survivors. A lot of them are called AYA, so adolescent young adult, specifically things like the Send It Foundation, where they take folks out on those outdoor adventures. There's tons of opportunities to connect with other young adults, and some of that's going to happen over Zoom or over a book club, but know that you're not alone in this, and that there are other people who have navigated it before you. And then remember that it's okay not to be okay, and you don't do anything that you don't want to do. I felt very pressured into, and I'm glad I did, right? I followed my doctor's orders and I did treatment, but there were so many days where I was like, I really just want to say no, thank you. I don't want to do this. But I don't really know how to find my voice in that space. And in hindsight, I'm really glad I didn't, because I wouldn't be here to live my best extra credit life. But it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to say no. And it's okay not to feel brave. So, and that kind of segues me into your question about what advice would I give someone whose friend or family member has been diagnosed with cancer, or specifically breast cancer. The narrative is always, you're so brave. You're such an inspiration. We're not. We're not brave. We're not an inspiration. We're getting up and we're doing the very best that we can with what we've been given. We're not, we don't feel courageous. We feel like, shit, this is the only option that I have. My two choices today are go to treatment or don't go to treatment. Or my two choices today are lay here on this couch or walk around the block in my slippers, right? It doesn't feel brave, and it doesn't feel inspiring, and it feels icky sometimes to hear that. So don't tell us that you think we're brave, and don't tell us that you think we're an inspiration, because it feels insincere. And then if you have a family member that's just been diagnosed with cancer, it's really easy. We all want to help. We all want to be there. And it's really easy to say, oh gosh, let me know how I can help you. Which is so sweet and thoughtful, but it creates a level of emotional labor that the cancer patient who barely has, the energy to roll over on the sofa at some points to tell you what to do. And that's really uncomfortable and really difficult. So I can't make a spreadsheet and be like, okay, great. On Wednesday, Kelly's going to come and do my laundry. And on Thursday, Anna's going to deliver dinner. I just don't have the capacity for that.
Yeah.
you tell me what you can do. And if you really want to help, and that's why people say, oh man, I said, what can I do? And they never reached out. It's just, we just can't. And then our partners can, I mean, it's just a lot to navigate. So instead of saying that automatic response of let me know how I can help, try and say, hey, I'm really good. I want to come over and fold your laundry. Do you have someone that's doing that for you? If not, I'm available to do that every other Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Is that something that you'd be interested in or would work for you? And someone might say no, like, dude, I don't want you to come into my house and touch my laundry. That's also totally okay. So I had a girlfriend who said, I'm gonna come over on my way home from work on Wednesday and wash your dogs. And I was like, oh my God, my dog smells so bad. That is gonna be really helpful.
So it's almost like, instead of asking me what I need, it's a lot for you. Like you said, it's a lot for you to have to think about what you need right now. Like, just offer things. And I might say yes, and I might say no, but just offer them as it, you know, as it motivates you. So what's the right thing to say then if we don't want to say you're so brave, you're a warrior, what can we say? What should we say? Or what do you want to hear?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I think, man, I think that it is just nice to hear him thinking about you. You know, you don't have to assign an adjective, an adjective to that, a verb. You don't have to give it meaning. It's just most meaningful to know that, hey, you're thinking about me. And don't be afraid to say the wrong thing. I mean, I would rather you say, God, you're so brave, than say nothing at all. Because there are so many friends, I think I went through and like deleted everyone from Facebook that didn't message me, which is kind of selfish and silly. But I
wouldn't judge you that way. No.
Yeah. I mean, I've been like a year, right? I was like, okay, great. I've been like sick for a year. Feel like crap. I don't care about any of these people. They were like super absent. No one said anything. Like, and I had friends reach out like months and months later and say, oh my gosh, I didn't reach out sooner because I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. And there were people that I really expected would show up right away. Mm-hmm. And it hurt my feelings. And I know like now as I've had a lot of friends get cancer and I probably haven't responded in all the best ways either. But it felt really icky because it would have been really easy to just say, hey, I'm thinking of you. And that's it. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It just feels good to know that someone somewhere is going, oh man, Juliette's having a really rough time today. And cards, send a card.
Yeah, you're being thought about. Everyone doesn't. I love that. Like, because that's so true. It's so true. Sometimes we can like, I don't know. I guess maybe you feel this level of responsibility with just wanting that person to be better and have the best intentions, but just checking in sometimes it's good. Like it is nice to know someone's thinking about you.
It is. It's great. And I got a lot of cards and they were wonderful. And I think like our walls were like, we started with like a string and hung the cards and then we needed another string and then it like moved around the room and around, around the house. I mean, it was clear that people were really thinking about me. And that was really meaningful. But sometimes the narrative of like being brave, it felt insincere or it felt like, oh God, I have to be brave now. It was a lot of pressure. Even now I'm brave. I'm like super brave. But, but it was tough. And I didn't feel, I didn't feel brave. And I went grocery shopping one day and I was just getting Gatorade. I was like super sick. I didn't feel like I was bald and snotty. Like, and I was getting Gatorade and maybe like soup. And the lady from the grocery store, I didn't know her. I never met her before. I mean, she probably seen me come in before. But I tried to time my grocery shopping where there weren't like other people because my immune system was really compromised. So I had to avoid crowds and like sick kids and touching anything because you get sick. So I think it was like, I don't know, 11 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday. And the cashier, she like came outside of her little booth and she grabbed my hand and she goes, you are so brave. And I've been praying for you. And I was so offended. Like, she's so sweet and it was so thoughtful. But I was so offended because I was like, I do not feel brave. I'm in my pajamas and my feet
Oh,
on. I'm here to get some Gatorade. I probably have in a couple of days. I'm disgusting. Like,
oh man. Okay.
brave, you too could achieve. Yeah, so it's a weird thing to say, I guess. Tell me I'm brave riding downhill bikes, because that's when I
Okay, well, so when's the next time you're gonna be riding downhill on a bike? I know you've got some healing to do. Do you have any plans to compete again at all this coming season, like springtime or anything?
yeah, good question. So I timed my surgery. I tore my rotator cuff in January this year, and I timed my surgery for after race season was over, with hopefully enough time to heal for next season. So next season, my goal is to do the entire Northwest Cup downhill series, and it will depend what category I race, depending on how I heal. Because yeah, it's really tough. And I've been told, my surgeon said no bikes for 3 months, and then she said no downhill for 6 months, and I was like, what am I doing in the 3 months then?
Your road, your gravel. She's probably like, she's like, you can ride your bike, but don't ride your bike.
I don't think ride your bike means the same thing to me as it does.
Yeah, I know, right? We're like, what do you mean? There's only one way.
Yeah, not pedaling it up and then walking it down. Yeah, so I intend to race the Northwest Cup Downhill Series, and I will participate in the Sturdy Dirty, all women's enduro, just because it's incredible. And if you're a female mountain biker and you're looking at racing or thinking about racing, I encourage you to check out the Sturdy D. It's all women enduro. There's multiple categories based on your level, of ridership. There's like a beginner racer category for beginner racers, and it goes up from there. And it is so empowering and so radical to just ride with women. And they train you. There's a Facebook group and a training series and workout guides and pre-riding the course and all the things that you need to like learn how to be a racer. If you're feeling intimidated by racing, and otherwise, come race downhill, Northwest Cup, or Northwest Cup.
Yes, Northwest Cup and Sturdy Dirty. So that's on my list 2023. It was on my list this past year, but I ended up having some conflicts with work and I couldn't go. But this coming year, I'm like, every time I see it, I'm like, I have to go to this race. Like, oh my God. And then I've never ridden in Washington. I bet the terrain is just wicked in a good way.
So good. Our terrain is incredible. I mean, it's my favorite, and I've traveled. I haven't been everywhere, but I've been to Oregon and California and Idaho and Wyoming and kind of Canada, Whistler.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I would just love it here. I love what we have to offer because it's loamy and steep and technical. And my favorite trail right now is it's NOTG. It's on Tiger Mountain, and it is just, I don't know, it's scary fun and it's delightful. And there's this like crazy little drop that is perfectly built and ready for you to go with it. I hopped myself off it a couple weekends ago, right before my surgery. My husband's eyes got really big, and I was like, oh no, I'm on a nosedive. But I still landed perfectly, carried on, everything was fine. I mean, it's built in a way where once you have drop skills, you can easily ride it, but it looks intimidating. So yeah, we have great riding here.
Oh gosh, yeah, I can't wait to get up there. I seriously can't wait to get up there. Where can ladies get in touch with you? Because I know I'm going to share some links out, but if we want to run through them, like where can we connect with you?
Yeah, I would love to connect with anyone that's interested on Instagram. My Instagram is @runner.girl.kern. So if you can write that down, that might be helpful. But
right here, right there.
Yeah. And I'm on the gram. I love Instagram because I just love photographs of all the things. Instagram is my favorite place. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn, I think, is just Juliette Kern if you're looking to connect professionally. But yeah, I'm there and I'm always open for questions and happy to chat about bikes. I could talk about bikes all day forever.
All day.
All day.
I'm going to bring you in on some hot topic discussions too. Like, if I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, we had a work conference thing recently, and they were the training, and every time we had to like pair up and talk about something with a colleague, I was like, so I'm going to talk about bikes for the next 30 minutes. Are you okay with it?
Because it relates to everything. Like I use them as analogies at work. Like it's just, come on, guys, we can do this all day. Like it just works.
Totally.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much, Juliette, for taking the time to join us. I'm really excited for women to connect with you and get to know you more in cycling. Again, ladies, we're going to have links and everything so you can get back in touch with Juliette. And thank you. I look forward to connecting again more soon. Racing it sturdy dirty.
Yeah, I hope you do.
All right. Bye, everybody.